The new Mac M1 is so good, it could change the way you do things. Let's talk about it.
Well, working 3 jobs, living out of the car. Mama never told me life would get this hard. Running around the world playing my guitar. Baby, you can love me, you can leave me, I'm a honky-tonk star.
So let's go ahead and talk about the new M1 Mac. How did I arrive at the M1 MacBook? Well, it all started with the A7S III. And that camera can do 10-bit color, but with 10-bit color comes 10-bit problems. It really does just create a problem when you have been used to editing an 8-bit 4K footage. The 10-bit footage requires just so much more space on your computer, and it also just requires a whole lot more computing power to get the job done that you need to be done. First, I started off with a Dell XPS 15 from 2020. And I was editing in Premiere Pro, and it was a no. I mean, it was not happening. It was just skipping and stuttering, and it was just impossible to get anything done. I even tried it with proxies, and again, it was no. Let's talk about Windows computers just for a second. If anybody ever tells you that you can get by without AirDrop, if you're used to using AirDrop and you hear somebody say that, you might as well just go ahead and flip on to the next video, because it is a significant issue to be using AirDrop. Apple has done a good job with that, and it's really super hard when you get used to AirDrop to go back to a computer without AirDrop. And they'll tell you, oh, you can use this app and you can use that app. There is no substitute for AirDrop. But it was pretty clear, it was pretty obvious from the very beginning that 10-bit with the Dell XPS and Premiere Pro was not going to work well at all. It would only do some of the codecs. It wouldn't edit the 120 frames per second, even with the proxy. So it was just basically a no-go on that. Then I tried the 2017 MacBook Pro with Final Cut Pro as my editing software, and it was okay. But it only seemed to work with the all-eye codec and when I was using optimized media. That's the only way that I could seem to get it to work very good at all. And what that created was massive file sizes. I mean, simple little projects like 10 or 15-minute videos would just go huge project. The file sizes would just be massive. And you would take like a little 20 to 30 gigabyte project, and then would easily be over 100 gigs in the end. And it was really starting to be difficult to manage that, and it's starting to tax my storage in a negative way. I mean, those file sizes were just getting way too big to be able to manage. So at that point, no computer I own could handle the more compressed codecs of the A7S III. Things like the HS4K or just a regular S4K, I couldn't use them, but I wanted to because of the reduced file size. So enter the M1. I watched a lot of online reviews of people that were editing videos using the M1. And I'll have to say I was pretty impressed with the results they were getting. My thought process was, if the M1 could process the more compressed codecs without using proxies or optimized media, it would ultimately speed up my workflow and save on storage space. So I've been using and editing with the M1 MacBook Pro for over a week now, and all I can say is, wow, this thing is really good. I must say that when editing Final Cut Pro and using the M1, there is not a codec that I have on any of my cameras that can make this computer stutter during the playback. Once the files are finished rendering, they'll all run great. From the 4K 120 frames per second, 200 megabits per second, 422 10-bit, all the way to the all-eye 4K 120 frames per second, 300 megabits per second, 422 10-bit. Say that 3 times fast. No device that I have can slow this computer down at all. Even if I do S-Log3 with color grading, effects, titles, transforming, nothing can slow down the M1 MacBook Pro. It runs Final Cut Pro seamlessly with no pause or stutters, and because I've been able to turn off the optimized media, project file sizes have been greatly reduced, which really, in my thought process, that would help me save money in the end, because the file sizes on the 2017 with the optimized media or the proxy files were just getting so huge that it was eating up all my storage. So now when I do a project and it's more like the 20 to 30 gigabyte range, that's all that I have to say, which is a lot better off than 100, 140. I mean, just huge file sizes that I was getting when I had to do the optimized media. Another great feature of the M1 MacBook Pro is the battery life. So web browsing, word processing, YouTube video editing, whatever I normally use my computer for, I don't ever have to charge it. So you can definitely go a full day without charging it at all, which is great because I don't have to carry a charger with me everywhere I go. And that was the case with the old MacBook Pro 15 I used to have. I knew if I took it out of the house or away from my desk that I was going to have a charger to go with me. The MacBook Pro M1, I'm confident that if I leave the house without a charger, it'll be fine. I mean, there's no indication that it would ever run out of battery in a day, no matter how much work I did on it. That's how good it's been. In fact, I would almost say that it could probably last a couple of days with no charge. Just by my everyday use. Now, everybody's use patterns are going to be a little bit different, so you might not get as much as I do out of it because you might use your computer a lot more. But even with heavy tasks like video editing, I mean, the bar just barely goes down even with the whole day of use. It's super awesome to be able to know that you don't have to carry your charger with you, or if you forget your charger, you're not out of luck. So the battery life of this thing is just fantastic. I guess it's not all sunshine and rainbows though. I guess some of the Intel-based programs apparently run slower than normal. They run in the background with a program called Rosetta, and they're not all optimized yet. But I've been using Lightroom and Photoshop without any problems at all. But apparently, if you're going to be using something like Premiere Pro, you may be disappointed with this MacBook M1. And from what I've seen on the internet of some Premiere Pro users using the M1 MacBook, they've hadn't had very good results. But I think that soon, more and more of the apps will be optimized to run with the M1 Mac. And when they do, hopefully they'll get the speed and performance boost that the M1 MacBook can provide. I haven't personally experienced any slowdowns because of apps, because I primarily use Apple software. But you should be aware that there could be some slowdowns with some applications. So let me tell you, if you use the Final Cut Pro to edit your videos and you're okay with Apple specific applications, the M1 could change the way you do things. It is really that good. Thanks for watching.